Hey everybody, welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. I'm Dylan, that is Sal, and today we're going to be talking about this second Spider-Man movie, Amazing Spider-Man 2, with
Part
Andrew
2.
Garfield and all the other ones, Emma Stone,
Yeah.
the whole gang. This is a weird movie. I don't like this movie. What do you?
I like it. Kind of.
Yeah,
I kind of like it.
I'll agree with that. It has moments. There are some really fun bits in this movie. Like, I mean, straight off rip, like the movie starts with one of the best live action Spider-Man suits that we've ever seen, and a great web swinging scene, something that the MCU has not even gotten close to. So there's a lot to like about this movie. I really like the score as well. I think it got made fun of a bit. Like all the electro stuff back in the day. Yeah, but I like it.
Very,
I
very
think
bad.
It's fun.
No, Electro's awful.
Electro is awful.
Electro looks awful.
I like his music.
The music is awful. He has a song about how nobody likes him and he needs to kill everybody. Turn that off. Like, what are you doing?
I liked it. I think it's goofy and the kind of camp this needed. So do you think Electro, probably we should talk about a lot because that's mainly the reason that we're talking about this movie. Going into No Way Home. Because my opinion on Electro in this movie is mostly that I like him. I don't think he's anything like, obviously comic book Electro in any way.
No.
I think he's a fun, interesting take up until he actually turns into Electro. After the whole Times Square action scene, when he just turns into a one-dimensional nothing villain and just wants to kill Spider-Man for no reason.
Yeah.
Before that, I'm like, okay, cool. This is kind of interesting.
I mean, there's an idea there, right? At the very least, I'll give you that. There's an idea. It's an obvious time-worn tropey idea of what a nerd. He has he has a diastema and he likes science and he's alone, except when in the deleted scenes where he has a mom. And when he has a mom, it's his mom is abusive and he's a pathetic loser who'll never have sex with anybody. That's what we think nerds are like. It's very obvious. But Jamie Foxx is an Academy Award-winning actor who is guest directed by Joel Schumacher or something. So he's just I don't know. You could tell, seeing this again and then watching an interview with him with the heroes where he gets to do it again, he's like, thank you. He's thanks for giving me another shot. That's so rare. Because this is just stupid. For sure. With Amazing Spider-Man 1, they're clearly trying to go Batman Begins with it. They're real Spider-Man. Because Raimi's was so hyper real. It's hyper reality. It's Raimi reality. So they went Batman with it. And okay, what if Spider-Man were real? Impossible, but all right. Fine. But then Amazing Spider-Man 2, they're well, we got the notes back about what people liked and didn't like about the first one, and they kind of like the fact that it's grounded, but they also miss a lot of the Raimi stuff. So let's have two directors. Right. That's what it feels like. It feels like two different people made this movie. And people talk about studio interference, and it's I don't know if there are three different directors then. Because there was just there are those horrible Sinister Six setup scenes.
Yeah.
Which are
there's
just
a lot going on here. It's the weird thing is there's the bones of something that's kind of good here.
There's a real movie in there. There's a real movie.
Yeah, somewhere. You got to dust off 80,000 different things to get to it. But I even noticed, especially in the first act, is the editing is really choppy. Things just cuts just happen before scenes resolve, which is so strange to see in a movie like this. And even going further into the movie with Harry, when Harry shows up, that's another thing where it's we're gonna do something very different than we've done before. And then slowly, over the course of the movie, it just dissolves into generic studio, put Green Goblin in the movie.
Because they just have because they don't care. They don't know.
Right.
There's a movie in here, and the movie is Spider-Man wants to be with Gwen, but we want to do the thing where he can't be with her. Like, I remember seeing it for the first time and thinking to myself, like, there's no conflict here. Like, both of them want to be together. She knows who he is. Like, they're basically just dating. You know, it's not like there's another person in the mix, you know?
Right.
So it's like, you're just dating,
but not... But,
right. But, like, you're just dating and there's no you're just not putting labels on it. So what's the conflict? And then the conflict comes where she's like, I'm leaving. Because the crescendo of the movie is, I'm going with you. And I'm like, cool.
Right.
Like, what an interesting, like, movie that's hidden underneath all this junk. Because you get all this great stuff with, like, Aunt May and Peter and, like, Gwen and, like, the trauma pass. But all this other stuff is in there. And then, like, and even the Harry stuff, like, I feel like that was tacked on, but it also is part of this, like, it, like you said, the third act just completely devolves, but, like, at the very least, like, the third person in this triangle is Harry, where, like, Harry's this, like, this other, like, monkey wrench that they throw into the mix. And it could be interesting, but it's just not. I don't know. Like, then you got the Kafka scenes, and you got, like, the every villain scene is just, like, a goofy Batman and Robin kind of extravaganza, or, like, someone trying to do what Raimi does naturally.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's, like, really, it's, like, unintentionally insulting, you know, where they're like, hey, like, I can imagine them shooting this movie and then, like, inviting Sam Raimi to the premiere, and, like, while the goofy bullshit scenes happen, they, like, nudge him and go, like, right? And he's like, what is that? And they're like, that's as good as anything you do. Like, that's what you do, right? And it's like, that's what it reads to me. It's just this, like, really insulting, like, cornball, we're not creative enough to have our own style like Sam Raimi does. And I don't understand why it's, like, clever or fun or enjoyed. So I'll just do it because I think people want it. But, like, every Spider-Man scene is a knockout. Every scene with Peter and Gwen is a great scene. The central conflict of, like, Gwen's leaving. Again, I was into it. I liked it. And then every villain scene, I'm like, get me out of here. The Times Square scene is okay. And like I said, every scene with Spider-Man in it is great. But the villain, like, I don't care about any of the villains. I'm not interested in them. I'm not rooting for them or rooting against them. I just don't care.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, like, I'm a little harsher on the Peter and Gwen stuff, just because it's I feel like it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth when, like, I know that the climax of the movie is Gwen dying, and that's why all of that is in there. And it's just like, it shouldn't have been, like, the for them to base both of these movies on the death of the Stacys is, like, it's just strange and a weird, like, decision. Like, the whole movie, and maybe this is just in retrospect, but you can't avoid that nowadays. It is like it reads as, like, wow, they really wanted to kill Gwen Stacy, and I don't know why.
I remember in the theater when he says, I'm going to London, I was like, they're going to kill her in this movie.
Right. It's like, she's dying. There's no way they're letting Spider-Man go to London.
No!
Even though they sort of did a few years later.
Right? Oh my god, yeah. I remember you talking about the like, the third person and how, like, Shailene Wooley was Mary Jane for a hot second. They shot all these scenes.
Yeah, like, can we talk about all of the deleted scenes and how radically they would have changed the movie if they were in there? Peter's dad is alive in a different cut of this movie.
It's grotesque. It's macabre. Like, Peter's father being in the movie is disgusting.
Horrible.
Oh, I forgot about all the other things where I was like, oh, yeah. I literally, like, I was editing the movie in my own head. Like, I forgot the opening sequence is there, like, man, Inception and Dark Knight Rises are things, and we're going to do our own thing. You know, based on this mystery that literally nobody asked for, that, like, only we insisted exists. Like, and you could cut them out of the movie and it doesn't hurt the movie. It actually only helps the movie to cut out the airplane scene and the subway scene and all that stuff. You could cut it all out.
And the weird thing too is, like, they they're so insistent in this movie that like they're insistent, but they don't want to talk about it too much because like they're like, Peter's a scientist in this one. Like, we're gonna show him make his own webs and like figure out problems, and his dad is like a scientist and everything.
Right, because you can genetically pass on being a scientist.
Right. But then they want to make him cool. They don't want to make him like nerdy little Tobey Maguire.
No.
So we got to make him like skateboard and everything.
Right.
But then you just don't like actually show that much. And when you do, it's cool. Like I one of the scenes I really like in this is him figuring out how
the electricity webs.
Yeah, him trying to figure out how to beat Electro and eventually magnetize his web shooters.
Yep.
Which again, good moment having Gwen help him figure that out.
Yeah.
But it's just it's compounded like on all angles of them wanting to force this weird narrative on Spider-Man to the point where like the whole resolution to that is that Peter is special and the bite would have never worked on anyone else, which is just completely contrarian to
which bite?
The point.
He got bit by like 100. Well, that's right. He got bit by one spider, but he like 1,000 spiders fell on him in that awful scene.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The first one. He's like, he goes into the spider room.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just I hate the idea. Like, you watch Into the Spider-Verse and you maybe read any Spider-Man comic, and the idea is anyone can wear the mask. It's not Peter Parker that's special. It's the idea of having a responsibility to do something.
They want that to be the lesson in this movie, but also that he's Superman and he's born on Krypton, and only he can be Spider-Man. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And if you don't remember, it's a small moment in the movie, but it's Peter's dad's DNA is what was put into the spider DNA. So the implication is that only Peter can become Spider-Man, which is stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, even that because the deleted scene where like Richard Parker shows up at
Gwen's grave.
Gwen's grave. And Peter gets angry at him, and like, is there another version of this movie where that resolves? Because we've never seen other deleted scenes. Mary Jane shows up in a deleted scene, and we've never seen where that goes.
No.
Like, what's the point of it?
No. The fact that like in the first movie they said that like they have Uncle Ben kind of paraphrase Richard Parker saying that with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Garbage. Then to have it reinforced in that horrible scene. What are you gonna do now? Like, what's your future of this? And then you find out like they were gonna do clones and stuff, and it's like you have no idea what to do with this franchise. It's like that's why Feige went to Pascal in her office and was just like, why don't you just let us reboot it?
Yeah, we know what we're doing.
Should we go over the notes, the Feige notes that he gave to Pascal when he saw the movie to fix it? Because it's basically everyone's critique of this movie. There are too many storylines. We need to choose which ones we're focusing on, lift out the other ones. We could reduce the father arc to just like maybe the Roosevelt scene. I don't know. Cut that out entirely. You could cut the plane crash and Richard destroying spiders at the start of and just start on the armored car. Don't start with Spider-Man. Let the danger and stakes to New York City build, and then have Spider-Man enter the scene heroically. Tone down Paul Giamatti's performance. If you cut Richard from the opening and the plane crash, maybe you could instead do Harry coming home and seeing Norman at the top of the movie. Really love Electro. This is where we disagree. Feels like you may not need the scene in his apartment, which make him seem completely crazy and hard to relate to. No argument here. I like the idea that the eel goes into his mouth instead of burrowing. You just see it glowing within him. This is the electric eel scene, which is, of course, horrible. You need to set up the power plant earlier and visually. Yes. Yeah. Seems like the movie the movie switches POVs a lot. Why are we in Max's point of view during the car chase scene? Worth looking at is playing out Spider-Man's point of vision. There could be a better way to reveal that Peter is missing graduation. Maybe when you cut down when you cut Gwen, you cut to a wide shot. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the moments where I was like,
scene.
Why are we just cutting to this? We're going to break the action immediately.
Well, and I love that she's like giving her speech, and then at the end they do it again. And I'm like, we just heard this. Like, tiny note, don't you think Peter would lie? I don't think Peter would lie to Gwen about sirens. Maybe he's just downplaying it. I don't know. This Stan Lee cameo was weird.
I don't even remember it.
He's in the crowd at the graduation, and he's like looking around confusedly, and then sees Spider-Man in his graduation outfit, and he goes, "I think I know that guy." And I'm like, "What?"
Oh, weird. Yeah. That is strange.
Instead of seeing the ghost of Captain Stacy, can there just be like a voice in Peter's head or flashback to the last movie? We don't need to put Captain Stacy into the car chase.
It's a bit ham-fisted for sure. I think the only time the Stacy stuff worked for me is the very last time we see him, when Peter's going off and he lets Gwen like do something very horrible. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, she's gonna die. That was the only time where I was like, okay, that's kind of fun. Yeah.
God, it was so heavy. Like seeing the Stacy family at the funeral, like knowing that like their father died a year ago, and then like she died now. Like, ugh, just horrible. Andrew's performance is all over the place. There's a lot of crying and mania. It's hard to track him emotionally. It undermines his reaction to Gwen's death because he gets upset and emotional a lot. Honestly, I love Garfield's performance in this. This is one of those things where, like, at the end of it, I went, I think Andrew Garfield might be my favorite Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Really?
Like, he was so good, and I love his, like, what was it? I love his, like, when we get to the end of the movie, I feel like he's finally Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Like, with that scene of him and Aunt May talking, I'm like, you've done it. Like, the hair kind of, like, drops. Like, he looks more like Peter. Like, he's acting more like Peter. Like, I'm like, okay, all right, I'm ready. To know that they would have done clones afterwards. Woof.
Yeah, there have been I've heard a lot of rumblings on Spider-Man Twitter lately of people being like, I don't think Andrew Garfield got enough of a chance to, like, really become Spider-Man. And I think that's, he got 2 movies, and that's a lot. But I think, obviously what he was given wasn't great. And I'm not the biggest fan of him. I remember liking him a lot as a kid. And I think a lot of that was just because he's pretty cool. But in retrospect now, I think it's just, there's something like, he's a little too cocky, which I know is a common complaint about his performance, but there's something about him that is just like a little too, it's not as nerdy. Like the middle ground between Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield
is Tom.
In terms of like nerdiness is, I feel like, Tom Holland. And that's agreed. Kind of what I'm looking for.
I hear you. And I love Tom. I think he's doing a great job. I'm just like, man, I would be okay with more Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, I think if Andrew Garfield's a great actor, and I think given better material, he could definitely be a great Spider-Man. He would be my pick over Tobey Maguire, and I guess any fan castings other than that. He would be my pick for an older Spider-Man. Like
he's my Peter B. Parker now, right? Like
yeah, 100%.
What was it? I don't like the idea that May tells Peter his parents were spies, because then 2 seconds later he finds out that they weren't. It also fights against the idea that he's an ordinary kid. Thank you. Yeah. I like the idea that Aunt May finds out that he's Spider-Man. She finds his costume instead of just the Rosemary Harris wink wink all the time. I don't remember that happening.
Well, they read that again? He says that he...
I like the idea that May finds out he's Spider-Man, finding the costume. Maybe he's
I think he's saying Kevin Feige wanted that to happen.
Okay. That's which funny makes sense, because that ended up in Homecoming.
Yeah, Marissa Tomei. But yeah, I think I get what they're saying, because by the end of the movie, like,
there's no way she doesn't.
It's very clear that May knows.
Right, but he also says, I like it better than the Rosemary Harris wink wink all the time.
Right.
Which is how they ended
it. Maybe he saw a different cut. I don't know, because there's definitely a few close calls where she almost finds the suit.
That's the American flag scene is one of my favorite, like, interactions between the two of them. I was watching the American flag. She's like, what? I kind of like the morgue. I hate the dancing mortician. there's a deleted scene, I think, where there's a mortician who like dances, like where he's like getting rid of Max Dillon's body. It's horrible. It's as horrible as every Ashley Kafka scene. They did cut it, so yay.
Yeah.
Are you using VFX to show how Electro's traveling from one point or another? Because I guess he would just be places.
Right. Also, another strange thing he just discovered. Electro's like evolution of his powers is very weird. Why does he start turning red at some point? Like it's it's very strange.
Why does he voluntarily wear a suit?
Yeah.
The surveillance scene about following Peter around should be about following Harry. Nobody should be following Peter. Yes, agreed. I think that's also a deleted scene. Can Electro hum Itsy Bitsy Spider before he plays it electronically? Maybe we can then use it again. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that mostly because like the first time I watched this movie, Peter makes a joke about how he hates the Itsy Bitsy Spider song. I didn't hear it because it's so like compressed. And, like, you hear it the second time, but like
I heard it.
It's really hard to hear first time.
I remember hearing it in the theater, and like my wife was just like, like she thought it was kind of fun. I'm like, yeah, all right. I guess that makes sense. It's
goofy. That's a we want to be Raimi moment for sure.
Yeah. Spider-Man needs to feel more directly responsible for preventing the planes from crashing. Okay.
Don't give the regular people a win.
Oh, and don't show New Yorkers looting. Apparently, there was a sequence where we showed the New Yorkers looting, and I like that he's like, don't do that.
Don't put that in. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. No, if you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. But yeah, so it's a movie rife with flaws. It is, I think, like 3 different movies at once. I really do believe there's like a fan cut somewhere. Like there needs to be a fan cut somewhere to make this movie like much more palatable.
I think this is the one time that I have watched a movie and been like, this could actually benefit from a different edit. Like you watch Justice League, and I honestly think that the only reason that the Snyder Cut exists is because Snyder and a bunch of people came out and were like, there's a better version of this movie. But like you when you watch Justice League, it's like, yes, it is clear that there was like studio interference and stuff, but it's not. It's harder to see that there is like an actual, like, by just editing it differently, it could have been better. And I think like that's obviously evident by how many reshoots they had to do for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like they couldn't just re-edit that into something better. No. But I think there is something there, like to the point where like the deleted scenes that we have talked about drastically changed the plot, and they cut them out, and there's like no essence of that anymore. So there's a way you could do it.
Yeah. Also, it's frustrating that like, is it Felicity Jones as Felicia Hardy?
Felicia Hardy's in this. BJ Novak is Alistair Smythe for some reason. There's a lot of weird cameos.
Yeah, and it just doesn't work. It's really weird. It's a weird decision. She's a great actor, and she's not Felicia Hardy. No, they just throw her in there and give her the name Felicia Hardy because comic books. Yep. Well, because maybe we'll make a Black Cat movie.
Yeah, and we'll have to make it make sense somehow.
Yeah, also, well, and
we didn't really talk about how Green Goblin, they decided to make an actual Green Goblin. Why?
But he needs a biosuit. Like, he needs a suit. It's not just that he turns into a goblin. Like, Ultimate Spider-Man, he's a goblin. Okay.
Right.
But in this one, it's like,
That's
no.
fine.
He becomes, like, crippled. And then he has to wear a suit.
Like a weird lizard man.
Yeah. What's up with their lizard thing? I like that they made fun of it. Sony. There's a great moment in that movie where Harry says, where they're talking about, like, you know, the issue from last year. He's like, oh, you're talking about the time when one of our employees tried to turn everyone in New York into giant lizards? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it's fun. This movie's a mess. But, you know, mess. It's got some good moments. Great. And I think this Spider-Man 3 and you know what? I'll go on record, and people will hate me in the comments for this, but I'm not going to read them until like next week anyway, because No Way Home has premiered, and I'm not touching social media. No. But I think this movie, Spider-Man 3 and No Way Home are going to share similar issues.
of having bloat, too much
stuff.
But I hope I'm proved wrong. But
me too.
Yeah,
I feel
we'll
like
see.
And maybe it's just one of those things. It's like Spider-Man 3s get crowded.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's weird, but
We'll see.
yeah. Otherwise, there you have it. Amazing Spider-Man 2.
It's an interesting time. Go rewatch if you want, but there's not much time left before No Way Home. So
no, that's true. I'd check it out. Yeah, I'd check it out again if I were you.
It's not horrible to sit through. It's got its moments, but
Amazing
anyway.
Spider-Man 1 was boring. I had a really hard time watching that one. I had a better time watching this one, mostly because I was like, you could cut this, you could do this, you can move this around.
Yeah, it's fun to analyze. But anyway, that's it. We're going to talk about No Way Home a lot in a couple days, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, this has been Absolutely Marvel in DC. I'm Dylan, that is Sal. Catch y'all very soon.